This story is absolutely insane. As far as I understand, there was a doctor that was giving people saline shots and lying, basically stealing the government. So that people would come in and get a COVID vaccine shot. He would say, all right, I'm giving you the COVID vaccine shot, fill it up with saline, basically salt water, inject them with salt water, and take the money for the COVID-19 vaccines, to take the payment money. Charges dropped against Utah doctor accused of destroying $28,000 in COVID vaccines. The federal government on Saturday dismissed charges against a Utah plastic surgeon accused of throwing away COVID-19 vaccines, giving children saline shots instead of the vaccine, and selling faked vaccine cards. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a post on the social media platform Twitter that charges against Dr. Michael Kirk Moore of Midvale, Utah, were dismissed at her direction. Moore and other defendants faced up to 35 years in prison after being charged with conspiracy to defraud the government, conspiracy to convert, sell, convey, and dispose of government property, and aiding and abetting in those efforts. The charges were brought when Joe Biden was president. Dr. Moore gave his patients a choice when the federal government refused to do so, Bondi wrote. He did not deserve the years in prison he was facing. It ends today. He gave them a choice. I mean, I don't know if he was asking them if they wanted saline shots or not. I have a feeling that isn't what is happening. He was just doing it without asking them. If he's doing it without asking them, he's saying he did not deserve the years in prison. He was saying he's giving them a choice. Dr. Moore gave his patients a choice. If he is choosing to give them saline instead of the vaccine, that's not a choice. What? I wonder, I would love to see the details of this. I wonder if maybe he was asking them, because the verbiage is so weird here, right? It almost makes me think that, like, maybe he was asking, do you want a real one or not? I can fake it for you. I don't know. It doesn't make it any better if he was asking them or not. But the idea that gave his patients a choice when the federal government refused. Also gave his patients a choice. They always had the choice to not take it, right? They never were forced to take it. The idea that they didn't have a choice to not take the vaccine is crazy. Yes, taking it was coercive in some circumstances, but I don't think there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with that, right? Taxes are coercive, right? You technically have the choice to not pay taxes. You will eventually go to prison, right? Eventually, long enough down the line, you will find yourself in jail as a result of not paying taxes. And so arguably, you don't really have the choice to not pay taxes. It's you are being coerced into paying taxes. And within the context of the coercion, is that really a choice? But I don't think that is super meaningful within the context of the social contract, right? For the government and for society to function as it is in any way that we would even recognize, it requires everybody to pay taxes. It would not function if people had a choice to do so. It works the same way with this, right? We had a huge public health crisis, right? The COVID vaccine seemed like it was doing something, which it did do something. And so it was totally reasonable for us to put in certain measures to incentivize and to potentially even coerce people into taking it, right? And so people who whine and cry about, the military forced the military members to get COVID. They didn't have a choice. They would have had to quit the army and blah, blah, blah. Bro, first off, with the army and the military pump you with so many drugs. When you're in boot camp and stuff, they're just sticking a needle in your arm and giving you whatever, and you're not allowed to say no. So the idea that they aren't going to question whatever random stuff is being stuck in their arm at the beginning of boot camp, but suddenly the COVID vaccine, they're all up in arms. Oh my God, you got to stop this. Is just so stupid and facetious and not a real serious argument. But yeah, if you're a healthcare professional and you're in your hospital you work at says you have to get a vaccine or you're being fired, yeah, that is coercive. But it's sort of like the no shirt, no shoes policy at stores, right? I mean, it's basically that, but for the whole country and with a certain vaccine at the time. I think the analogy between the vaccine and a seatbelt is extremely close. Dr. Moore gave his patients a choice when the federal government refused to do so, Bondi wrote. He did not deserve the years in prison he was facing. It ends today. Absolutely, he did deserve the years in prison. The idea that she would overlook defrauding the federal government if it was some liberal doing it or whatever for a liberal cause she wouldn't. There's no way they would. This is not about giving people the choice. This is not about usurping federal control. This is because you guys think COVID was a hoax, that you think is some weird liberal cabal Jew conspiracy to control you, to put Bill Gates microchips in you or some bullshit. That idea has permeated the Republican Party so much that they are willing to just like go completely off the deep end with this shit and start pardoning people who defrauded the government and gave people fake vaccines and lied about it. Bro, no. A federal grand jury on January 11th, 2023 returned an indictment against Moore, his Plastic Surgery Institute of Utah Incorporated, others associated with the clinic, and a neighbor of Moore's. The indictment alleged more than $28,000 of government-provided COVID-19 vaccine doses were destroyed. They were also accused of providing fraudulently completed vaccination record cards for over 1,900 doses of the vaccine in exchange for either cash or a donation to a specified charitable organization. The government also alleged some children were given saline shots at their parents' request so that minors believed they were getting the vaccine. That's super dangerous too, because like, not only is it like some sort of choice, take away the perspective of like the government's forcing you to get it and we want to give them a choice to not have to take it or whatever. If you are telling these kids, if people believe that they are getting this vaccine, they're going to act in such a way as if they had the vaccine, right? They might be a bit more willing to be around people, to not mask up, to go around old people or immunocompromised people that would especially be harmed if they were to catch the virus. So it seems especially dangerous that, like, a lot of these people didn't know they were being, especially the kids, they didn't know they were being giving fake saline shots. They thought they were getting the full vaccine and would may potentially change their actions as a result of it. Potentially infecting more people and resulting in more illness and potentially more death as a result. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., a leading anti-vaccine activist before becoming the nation's top health official, posted his support for Moore in April, saying on X that Moore deserves a medal for his courage and his commitment to healing. What is happening? Do we live in La La Land? What is happening, bro? How is he the head of the Health and Human Services Department, bro? What is happening? Deserves a medal for his courage and his commitment to healing? He defrauded the government because he thought the vaccine was a hoax. That is... What are we doing here? What are we doing here, bro? We have the most insane people in office. I keep coming back to this reverse. We have undergone a reverse Darwinian process, and to select for the worst, most unqualified, most cynical, most corrupt people possible for this administration. I saw an interesting word. I'm gonna look it up right now, but it's called like. There's a word for this. There's a word for when a government or a country or whatever is ruled by its least qualified and its least competent people. And that seems to be where we're at right now. It starts with a K. I can't remember the... During his confirmation hearings in January, Kennedy repeatedly refused to acknowledge scientific consensus that childhood vaccines don't cause autism and that COVID-19 vaccines saved millions of lives. In a follow-up Twitter post on Saturday, Bondi said Georgia Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene brought the case to her attention. Oh yeah, of course. It's Bondi said Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene brought the case to her attention. That is not shocking at all. Like, she is the queen of this like insane conspiracy theory nonsense that is just, I would say permeated the Republican Party, but I would argue at this point is a core tenet of the Republican Party. And she is like the spearhead for that aspect of it. She's a spearhead for all the conspiracy theory nonsense that is, I'm saying, a core tenet at this point of the Republican Party. This just seems beyond, this is indefensible though. There's no defense for this. And like I said, there's absolutely no conceivable way they would be giving the same kind of lenience or same kind of treatment for somebody, some liberal doing this for a liberal cause or whatever. They're only doing this because of all the conspiracy theory nonsense. They think vaccines are hoax. They think, a lot of them think vaccines in general are hoax, but they think, specifically the COVID vaccine was a hoax. It's some, plot to control you, Bill Gates microchips in you, that kind of bullshit.